What's up, everybody? An interesting video today because we've been getting a lot of questions and being tagged in a lot of posts about this submersible, the OceanGate Titan submersible, who went down to see the Titanic, to check it out, went missing, and we are following updates to see if it gets found. We've heard that they're finding parts. People are losing hope because of the amount of time that it's been, days since they ventured out into the ocean or down into the ocean. And I've been getting a lot of questions about this company potentially cutting corners, charging $250,000 and then doing shoddy work, the major risks and problems that have happened in the past. And they want to know what can be done, if anything, as far as lawsuits go, as far as making it safer, as far as shutting them down and not allowing this to happen to anybody else in the future. So that is going to be the focus of our video today. If you're new, hit that like button. If you're interested in this content and you want to continue to follow to see if there are any legal ramifications to what is happening, and subscribe to our channel if you want to help pick the content and be a part of the conversation of what we discuss on here. So while we talk about it, just anybody that is not sure about what we're discussing, I'm just going to play this video, which gives a little bit of a tour so you can understand what this vessel is like, that they ventured deep down into the ocean. I think it was 7 or 8 hour trip to go see the Titanic, which, if you don't know, that's a big deal. And people still care about that because some people are saying, why would you ever want to do something like that? I had some good friends in middle school and high school. I think one of my buddies was the youngest person to ever go down to the Titanic. His dad has been interviewed on a bunch of news stations talking about this since this has occurred. So this is a thing and people are serious about it and put a lot of time, money, and energy into figuring this out, which leads us to the price, apparently, of a ticket to get into this little thing and go down to see the Titanic is approximately $250,000. And I think there was 5 people in this little claustrophobic tube here that do this as a choice. Nobody forced them to, and they paid a lot of money to do it. A couple of them are billionaires or family members of billionaires. You have a Titanic expert, and then the CEO of this company was also in the vessel going down to the Titanic. So the main questions are, what can be done? If something happened to this and lives were lost, can they sue this company? Well, the first question you have to ask in any inherently dangerous adventure that you plan to take, whether this would definitely be considered inherently dangerous, but it's also like, scuba diving or bungee jumping or anything that you can think, even fireworks, sometimes people call inherently dangerous, or they are inherently dangerous according to most case law across the country. That there are inherent risks that you're taking to partake in this activity. And that is definitely the case here. There are some inherent risks. This is inherently dangerous, but there are also waivers involved. And when you talk about waivers, there are ways to get around the waivers, and we're going to discuss some of them here and talk about whether we think any even could apply based on any of the facts and information we have in this case. So anytime something happens where damages are caused, like this case, especially if there's loss or life or injuries, then there is a potential lawsuit. But that doesn't always mean it's going to be viable, and it doesn't mean it's not going to get dismissed immediately. And you can absolutely waive your right to sue somebody if you get injured or you die doing an inherently dangerous activity or going into surgery. You sign off on things like waivers. A risk is you could die on the table. People know that and understand that for the most part, as is true here. And there have been reports from people that have gone on this tour, I guess you can call it, in the past, and they have talked about the waivers, that there are waivers. They're extensive, and they mention the possibility or risk of death multiple times. You know what you're getting into before you go down there. And some people have reported that they went down and there were problems with the vessel, so they had to come back up, fix it, and then go back down, and everything ended up turning out okay for them. But there were issues. There are issues when you go on this, apparently. However, You cannot waive certain things. First, a waiver must be done by you, and it must be knowing and understanding. You have to understand what you're signing. You have to know what you're giving up. You have to know what rights you're waiving. And it doesn't seem like, or we have no reports that I can think of. These are all competent individuals that went down there. I don't see any issues of an unknowing waiver or them being coerced or forced to sign this waiver, especially if you're paying that kind of money to do this. It seems like you would want to do this. I think that's a logical inference. Another one is them not properly, the company here, not properly informing you of the risk. Like, you're going bungee jumping. Oh, you could, hurt your leg or scrape your knee or whatever, but they don't put in there that you could die or you could severely injure yourself or break bones or break your neck or whatever it may be. That's not properly informing you of the risk in the waiver. Therefore, you did not know what the risk was. So therefore, you couldn't waive it. Again, does not seem like that is something that happened in this case based on the reports, which leads us to, you've signed a waiver, you knew what the risk was, but you still are able to get around it because of someone else's actions or inactions. First, fraud, which would be the company in this case hiding information or lying about how this structure was built or what it's made of or what it can withstand or how long it's going to take, or having certain information that is just not true based on past rides, that, the percent chance of success is 99.9 when really it's 50 or whatever it may be. Lying about certain details, fraudulently misrepresenting things to the individuals that are paying and signing waivers to take this tour. Next is, again, kind of a long shot, but when you realize we're dealing with billionaires and a lot of money in that vessel, this has been a lot of your questions, which is kind of what I'm focusing on, is your questions, is that there is intentional wrongdoing or sabotage. Now, that can be intentional wrongdoing by the company. And obviously, if they intentionally do something to harm the patrons that are on the vessel, the CEO is there, so this one doesn't make a lot of sense. But if they do, then you can sue them for that. But also, if there is some kind of sabotage and somebody wanted to take these people out and somebody's going to either inherit money or steal an empire or whatever it may be, and the company did nothing to prevent that, they allowed the saboteur to either become an employee of the company and do the dirty work, or they prevented them or did not prevent them from doing so. They did not protect their patrons when they knew that if they allowed something like this to happen, it could lead to serious bodily injury or death. And then the last one, with which most people have been talking about, we've seen the videos of them fixing the door with a dinky wrench. And, basically it looked like they were putting together something for their kid to play with. And in reality, they're spending millions of dollars to go down and see the Titanic with people that are spending a lot of money and also worth a lot of money in that vessel. So negligent construction or maintenance is a gray area when you have waivers, because the risk you're giving up basically is, we know that there's going to be intense pressure down there. And if the vessel explodes, that's something you're taking the risk of. You could have a panic attack and suffocate in this vessel because it's a small tube. You're waiving that risk because that could happen. There's animals down there, obviously, and one of them could come and rip open the door or, eat the vessel or whatever, maybe bump into you. And if it bumps into the vessel, then, the whole thing could go kaput. Those are risks that you're taking and you're waiving and are totally outside the company's control. But if the company cut corners and didn't use proper materials to withstand the pressure, if they didn't have enough juice to go down for as long as they needed to go down and come up as long as it took to come back up, that could be potentially something that you don't waive because you have a reasonable reliance that the company is going to do their job and not act grossly negligent. And if there were problems that they knew about and they covered up because they did not want to stop the trip from going forward because they've already collected the money, and to redo it would cost them too much money, and they put profits over people, which is such a common adage in closing arguments. And there's a reason why, because when companies do things like this, even if a waiver is signed, There are many ways to get around that waiver if the company knew or should have known that they needed to correct a mistake that they chose not to and did not inform the passengers of that risk or of that problem. Then they start to get intermingled. There could be some intentional wrongdoing, some negligent maintenance, and some potential unknown risk that you don't know as the passenger that it exists, and the company knows it exists and they don't tell you. So while there's a lot of unknowns surrounding this tragic event that's happening literally before our eyes, just because they signed a waiver does not mean there is no civil or especially criminal liability if the facts are there to prove what needs to be proven in the jurisdiction that this case, some kind of maritime courtroom, I guess, that this would end up taking place in. So I want to know, what other questions do you have? What have you seen about this case that's made you raise an eyebrow or think that something more is going on and maybe the court system will help us get answers, as we've seen it help us get answers in so many other cases like this that have captured the attention of the country and the world, really. This is a worldwide story at this point. So let me know. Let me know what you think. Hopefully y'all enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think in the comments and hit that like button on your way out. Thanks for watching another episode of The Lawyer You Know. If you enjoyed the episode, please hit the thumbs up and share with your friends who may be interested here on YouTube. And don't forget to subscribe. You can also follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok at Tragos Law is our handle. And don't forget to listen to the Lawyer You Know podcast featuring new episodes every week. If you have a case you want to talk to us about, if it's a personal injury case, wrongful death, catastrophic injury, car accident, or slip and fall case, please email us at lawyeryouknow@gmail.com. And of course, all these links I just mentioned are included in the description below on this episode and every episode. So until next time, this is Peter Tragos, The Lawyer You Know.